Well, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning and good night, and welcome to another live episode of Jacob's Ladder. I am your host, Jacob Israel. No worse for the wear, even though I am still under the weather. But we must talk today because there are weird things going on, like always. Like always. You know the stuff that's going on at the Collider? People have been talking about it. You know, today the Masters, they started. But it was bad weather to begin with. That's golf, if you play golf. Oh, yeah. OJ passed away. The juice is no longer loose. We do have Beetlejuice, too, coming out. But, you know, what are you going to do? I'm glad everybody's here already. Do me a favor. Hit the like button. I'm really under the weather, so I don't even know how this is going to go. But I do know that there are certain things that have happened, especially around the eclipse, that really, they defy logic. Things that almost are too good to be true. Like the guy who the Higgs boson, the God particle, is named after. Probably saw a lot of videos. Everybody was like, oh, the ritual of this and the ritual of that. And perhaps there was a ritual. But this man, who is an atheist, by the way, this guy right here to the left of the screen, you could see him. Looks like Norman Lear. Looks like somebody who creates a TV show in the 70s that becomes something called Happy Days. I don't know. That's what he looks like to me. But he's the guy, Peter Higgs. He first theorized this Higgs boson field, which was like the big one. That was the big thing. CERN, if you don't know what CERN is, it's a massive collider. It's many feet under the ground. It's miles in diameter. And what they do is they shoot particles very fast, almost like at the speed of light. And then they smash into each other and they try to open up little black holes, little portals and everything else. And they're trying to figure out what what made everything. But very few of them, if any at all, believe in God, which you would think. You would think that if you're trying to figure out how something is made, that, there's some rhyme or reason to it. Peter Higgs, the guy that just passed away, ironically, on the eclipse, he died at the age of 94, old age. He was definitely one of those atheists. In fact, he had a big problem with the fact that they named this particle, the God particle. He didn't like it at all because he doesn't really believe in God. He actually has gone on record to say that he's very much like Dawkins. Dawkins, the guy who says there's no such thing as intelligent design, but it's probably aliens, which denotes some kind of intelligence. These people, they're too smart for their own good. Well, he's dead. So, he passed away. Ripe old age. In 1964, he was a lecturer at the University of Edinburgh. He made a prediction that would have a huge impact on the world of physics. He basically postulated the existence of a field that would, basically make up everything. And he included the Big Bang and all this stuff. I think it's all a bunch of hocus pocus in all honesty. Because you know what? This is one thing that I've learned while covering CERN over the years. They've had a lot of experiments. They had the Dune experiment. They're shooting neutrinos. They have like information that travels back in time. All of this stuff is strange. I've covered them for years. In fact, a lot of stuff happened around the eclipse. Now, remember, Mania happened, right? And we talked about this in the last show. The Undertaker came out, and that bell, the bell, the Undertaker's gong came out right at the end when The Rock was on stage, and the Undertaker gave him the last ride, the final boss. It's a picture of death coming on in. It's very strange. But what was even stranger is the fact that Mr. Higgs dies during the eclipse, coming off the heels of this. Here, let me pull this up right here. Coming off the heels of this mania where the Undertaker's bell rings, and Eid is going on. Eid, which is a Muslim holiday. I know this because, of course, just the other day. I go outside, it's the morning, and my beautiful neighbor and their friends and their family, they were all dressed so nice. They're all dressed in their outfits, and they all looked like, it was like, I felt like it was like a big celebration, and that's what Eid is. I talked about Undertaker, Eid, and I talked about the God particle a while ago in a video, probably the last video that I did. And if you take a look to the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see I posted this out on X. It says, is it weird? 20 months, 30 days before the God particle CERN scientist Peter Higgs dies on, April 8th, 24 eclipse, after the Undertaker's bell is rang and Eid is declared, I'm actually warning about the God particle, CERN, the Tower of Babel being destroyed, while referencing the Undertaker and Eid. If you take a look at the thumbnail, you'll see that's the MMA fighter known as Israel. And we did the whole show. We talked about just the significance of this. And the fact that, man, in all of his, he thinks that we all think we're so smart, right? That's the problem. We all think we're so smart. And man thinks, when they think that they're in charge and they leave out the possibility that perhaps they're part of something much bigger than themselves, and then they make themselves God, there's a problem. And that problem comes and is resolved with death. The ringing of the funeral bell. The death toll is the bell's toll for the dead. And that's what happened for the God particle physicist who, known for being an atheist. Well, what does that mean for him? I say it's all going to work out in the wash. God has a plan. And I don't want anybody to be too concerned or too worried about those people. The scriptures talk about how when people fall asleep, when they fall asleep, it's really kind of a symbol of people's ignorance. This guy, he didn't know any better. You would think that the more you look into something and the more you see just the magnificence of creation, and you see spooky action at a distance going on with these particles, where they're entangled in two different fields. The things that go on in physics, they don't make much sense. You know what makes sense, though? You put God into the mix. Then it makes plenty of sense. But they have a problem doing this. So what happens? They go to their deathbed. And that's it. The lights go out, much like the lights went out for today's news. Who heard about OJ? Who heard if it don't fit, you got to quit? Remember the glove? All the stuff that he went through? How terrible. Today's the day. He passed away. This was like news. When I was putting all this together, this was news. In news indeed. I feel like we're at a moment in time where, things could go the wrong way. Things could get very, very scary, right? But here I've been kind of encouraging all of you just to live your best life, to have faith, to seek more, to look for more, to love, to forgive, to do what God said. What Jesus said, he goes, if you do these two things, love others as yourself and love God. That's it. Put God before everything. If you put God before everything, you're going to put others before yourself. You have to live in faith. If you live in faith, it's going to be okay. And we've been talking about this on the show when everybody was so scared. And I said, I got a good vibe. Some people are like, oh, it's not the Jonah eclipse, not the Jonah eclipse. It's like the very definition of the Jonah eclipse is the fact that a man didn't want to preach repentance, finally listened to God after he suffered a long period of time in the belly of hell, which was that great fish. And then he comes and he tells everybody, you got to repent. People, they listen to him, and then they're spared. Eid, this holiday, which just came to an end, it's about people being spared. Has to do with Abraham. If you're a Muslim, you'll call him Ibrahim. And his son Isaac, when he was supposed to offer him up on the altar. The sacrifice. This was the very first mention of the word worship. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to church, I'm going to worship. And then you're raising your hands, you're listening to music and everything's great. You think that's worship. That's not worship. Worship is literally, he went up to worship God by laying down Isaac. Now, there is a very deep spiritual significant meaning behind this. He thought one way and he understood God to be someone that provides the sacrifice. The last minute, right before all hope is lost, right before the thing that he wanted the most, he wanted a son. So much so that he went about it to establish his own way, right? God promised you're going to have a child with your wife. She's old. She didn't believe it either. And what did he do? Well, they made up a plan. Hell, you have relations with the handmaid, which is basically the equivalent of somebody's slave. You know, they were in servants to Abe. So what did he do? He knocks her up, and then she gives birth on like Sarah's knees. It's like the show Handmaid's Tale. It's the idea, because in the future, we may even find this to be something that happens, because right now we're having such a problem with fertility. People are, the birth rate is just plummeting. And it's being evidenced in a lot of big court cases that we're hearing about. The one that just went down, I think it was in Arkansas. A lot of people are up in arms about this. This is like this old ancient law from back in the day is now back on the books, and you could go and you could be in big trouble. Trump says not to worry about it. He says we're going to fix that. It's going to be in the States. It's very, very strange to watch all this stuff. Me, personally, I'm pro-life. That's just the way I am. I'm also the kind of guy that I don't want to see anybody go to jail because, something terrible happened to them and they don't want to end up having a child because maybe they were. Terribly forced to do something by a family member or it's like, they're like, I just don't want to be the person that makes that decision. I don't want to be the person. So I have to say, I'd rather see it not be something that's offered. And I don't think it's going to be offered. I really don't. I'm going to stand by my belief that the future we're going to see, it's not going to be a thing. It's not going to be a thing because you got to, the race of humans has to continue on. If somebody's going to be blessed with a child and, of normal means, I don't know. Listen, I don't want to get into all of that stuff. You got to leave it is a very difficult thing to think about. I mean, I don't know what I would do. I was supposed to be gone. My mother had me when she was very, very young, right when it was legal, but I'm here now. Thank God. Thank God. And it worked out okay for my mom. It was, she was very difficult for her. We grew up very poor, but you know what? Look how it all turned out. I got this beautiful family, 4 and everything else. But today, there's a lot of weird things happening. A lot of weird things happening. Some say it's progress. Some say it's not progress. But I will say one thing. When I put out that video called Stranger Things Are Happening Now Than Ever Before, as Eid begins. And I'm talking about CERN, and I'm talking about the Undertaker, and I'm talking about Eid, and I'm talking about how man is just so, they think they know it all, and I'm explaining how, just how, they perform their fake human, sacrifice. They did that. These visiting professors came in. They thought, hey, we'll get together, we'll do this thing, we'll release a video. It looks like we're doing some kind of a terrible, sacrifice in front of the Shiva altar that was given to CERN. CERN was built on a mountain that had at the base of it had the temple for Apollyon. Apollyon was the destroyer. They had the key to open up the bottomless pit. And they're opening up bottomless pits by creating a bunch of black holes. So it's very weird. I find it interesting that this guy dies 20 months, 30 days after I do that video, but really 639 days, which I looked that word up in Strong's, and it means anger, like the blast of God's nostril. He's angry, right? So I feel like there's going to be correction going on in the land. I feel like this is what's been happening. I came up with a hashtag. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I hope that please do me a favor. Like barely anybody's hit the like button right now because I didn't tell anybody. We got like almost 1,000 people here. Hit the like button and more people will come. More people will come. But I came up with a hashtag and it was like, if they be corrupt. And who knows what's going on at this CERN? Who knows what's really going on? Even out on the island here at Rick, the Brookhaven Lab. They have a collider as well. Hey, let me tell you something. You know what I'm drinking right now? You can thank Lance for this. I'm drinking wormwood tea. Wormwood tea, because this thing's been, all of a sudden I'm having problems tasting stuff. It's very weird. You know what I think I got, right? So Lance is like, you better have that wormwood tea just in case. Just in case. Who knows what went on? A lot of people were saying they got sick during the eclipse. You know, I was sick beforehand, but then I got better. And I'm still working out. I'm still doing my job and everything else. And this guy, Avi Loeb, we've talked about him, the Harvard professor. He always comes up with the coolest stuff. He says all the weirdest things. And the newest thing is that he believes the aliens are coming in, that they're extra dimensional beings, and they're coming in through the stuff that CERN is doing, basically. Yeah. Don't let that bother you, though. Don't let that bother you. This is all just making life a little bit more interesting for all of us. Peter Higgs, he is passed on. We wish his family well. He lived a good long life. It's a shame that he lived his life thinking that it meant nothing at all. Because that's basically what life means to the person who thinks there is nothing more. And what a sad way to live. I'm of the sneaking suspicion that eventually he will learn that he was wrong. He will learn that he is wrong. I'm of that belief, you know? I'm of that belief. There's a scripture that says people, you know, their hearts are hardened that they can't see. Like Pharaoh, right? You would think that Moses came in, all of these great signs, all these plagues, you would think that Pharaoh would finally let the people go. But no, God kept hardening his heart. He's like, nope. I want you to learn a bigger lesson here. This is something that's going to span thousands of years. People are going to talk about this for thousands of years. But at the last minute, God delivers. I titled this video, Babylon Has Fallen. Because, you know, when you see those words, Babylon is fallen, many people think it means like, it's been like, but really I understand it to mean that it's fallen. It used to be a great place, but now it's just like the habitation of devils and harlots and just wicked, terrible people that are just trying to make a buck and they don't care at whose expense. Well, another little test that I put out had to do with a guy named Ouchie, whose name means maker of sickles, ironically, who, Rand Paul says, has the smoking gun. This is not going to be a joke. The great cover-up. The great cover-up. I said this was going to be the year. Tell me in the live chat. Leave a comment. Tell people that are new, hey, this is what we've been talking about, the power of faith. When you stand out in faith and you say something like, right now it's scary. That's what I did. Back when they were going around with the whole, it's the endemic of the unvaxxed, right? Remember they were doing all that and they were getting everybody so scared, put on all that pressure. And I said, shame on you. I said, this is going to go away. I had faith. I knew it because they were pressing it so hard. And now look. I don't know many people that, stood their ground that are feeling unhappy about that. I don't know many people, but I do know a lot of people that have been very hurt and a lot of people that are very angry at how things have gone, how they were forced to do certain things, manipulated, because it's law that we can, use propaganda on the people, supposedly. That's what I heard. You got to look this stuff up. Once again, I'm just a speculator here, and I'm just kind of sharing the things as I see them. But I do know that this is a guy that I've had my eye on. And it looks like he is not going to be let off the hook that easy. Turns out, this investigation discovered government officials from 15 different agencies knew in 2018 what was going on. Are you telling me that all the things that people were saying, we were saying, where we were suspecting, like maybe it just seems like it makes sense, that now it's coming out to be true? People are going to be held accountable. So I put this little test out. This was December 14th, which was the anniversary of The old wackadoo that happened when we had that other solar eclipse, which was smack dab in the middle of the other two eclipses. And I said, as a response to the fact that this is 3 years later, I said, who thinks Ouchie should be thrust into the headlines again and held to account for all he did, the misinformation and more? I believe an investigation is due. And then I put the old, this is a test. Now, let me explain what this is a test means for those of you who don't know. It's like, I got a vibe. Sometimes I'll put something out. I'm like, this is a test to see if my vibes are accurate. Or I'm stepping out in faith. If he's corrupt, Lord, let's thrust him in the headlines. Let's have it all come out, right? And then here we are. So we got CERN, we got the guy who came up with the God part, who goes and believe in God, who wins the Nobel Peace Prize, by the way, Nobel Prize for physics, Nobel Prize. I think he won like $1 million or something for that too. And now we got the smoking gun. He had the desire to create this very thing. Very strange. Jennifer Norris is saying that I'm not a news anchor. I don't even know what I'm doing. But I'm glad you think that I am. You know what I do is I look at all the stuff that's happening, and I like to kind of just pull some kind of a deeper spiritual meaning. So a different way of looking at it. Like the Masters is going on right now. The Masters. And when I think of the word master, I think of the master. I think of Christ. I think of the Masters is a tournament where only the best make it in the end, right? It's a very big thing. And you get that green jacket. And Tiger Woods is going for his 6th. He's going to try to tie Nicholas today, who, by the way, teed off. They were held back because of some storms. I put a little test out there just because I think the fact that it's the Masters would be cool. I think it would be cool if there was some like big thing that happened. I don't know, maybe with Tiger Woods or maybe with just the Masters in general. I just have a feeling because I think it would be cool. That's the only reason. No deeper insight, no weird ideas, just trying to look at the world through different eyes. And I'll tell you who's going to be looking at the world through different eyes right now is Ouchie. Because it's not looking good for him. Rand Paul's going to probe also these off the books meetings with the CI, the other letter before it all hit. Why were they having meetings before it hit? I don't know. So even Elon thinks he should go to jail. That's news too. Elon's like he's got to go to jail. You remember Elon put out that tweet where he in which the Lord of the Rings movie, one of them, I don't know which one it is, but the king, he was so sick because that guy, I forgot his name, Wormswood or something, or Wormsmith, or he was like whispering terrible poison into the guy's ear, and Elon put out a tweet with Ouchie looking like him. Yeah. Oh, this doesn't work. Don't worry about the mask. Oh, you should wear 2. I mean, like liars are going to lie. And once again, I don't know. I don't know this, that, or the other thing. I just know that this is big news. This is big news, Rhonda Peterson. I'm Rhonda's favorite meatball. I got to remind everybody. I'm hoping I'm all of your favorite meatball. You know what? Speaking of people that are acting goofy, who saw the Rihanna thing? Oh my goodness gracious. Now look, once again, I'm not a Catholic. I was a Catholic when I was young. But I'm not a Catholic. So it's not like, I look at this and I'm thinking, oh, this is some terrible thing. It's like, I don't want anybody to think that I'm somehow glorifying this outfit. It's called a habit. It's a habit. Now I know because, I even went to like a preschool. We were in this, I had like nuns for teachers at one point, and they used to whack you. I remember getting whacked quite a bit. I got beat a lot when I was a kid. I don't know, maybe it's just our generation, but I got hit by like everybody, neighbors, everybody. It was probably not the safest environment for children growing up where I grew up. But hey, I turned out all right. But the habit, there's a lot of symbolism behind this habit. it's basically like the clothes of Christ. Everything, every part of it, from like the hat to the belt to all the sash, all of this is very symbolic about being clothed with Christ. Thank you, Lisa Gordon, for the super chat with the 1222. I like that, the 1222. Yeah, the veil is a symbol and a sign of the nun's consecration to Christ. You put the veil on and you know that you belong to God. This is what Mother Maria Michael said, that you're not your own. So, to have Rihanna looking, ridiculous. You gotta think about how much money was spent to have her look like this, right? They sprayed stuff on her chest, and, it's just weird. And she was like, grabbing her boob, and it was just, I think to myself, these people are just foolish. They're just foolish because they're not even considering the example that they're setting. They think that they're being like super artistic, but meanwhile, this is supposed to be a picture of a person's devotion to God. If you're a Catholic, so to put on the habit of a nun is basically like to put on a wedding dress for Christ. So to turn it into that, that takes some real, I want to say naughty word. I want to say like balls. Let's take some balls. I'm sorry. It's the only thing I can think of. All of a sudden, I'm watching Mexican TV and they're covering the eclipse. And that's what I think of. Do anybody hear about that? How funny. We've just entered into the Twilight Zone. Excuse me for saying that. But that takes some serious, you really got to you got to think you're so great. I don't care if these people have been around for thousands of years, in their clone bodies or whatever. Some people say this about celebrities, all the celebrity lookalikes. I don't care if they've been at it for 1,000 years and they just haven't had evidence that there is a God. This is the day where God is going to be manifested, where people are going to know. Come hell or high water, these are the things that I've been saying, because it has to change, and we're seeing change. A lot of people are just, really covering how scary this stuff is that's going on with Russia and with China and with the Middle East. And yes, it is stressing me out as well, but I don't want to see horrible war and everything else. So what I'm trying to see and what I'm trying to share is revelation of such corruption and revelation of just debauchery and terrible things that have been happening with the current leadership in whatever country it is. We see what's happening right now with Brazil and X, with, the censorship and what's happening there. And it's becoming mainstream news for a reason, so that we can possibly hold the people that are criminal to account, as opposed to allowing them to start something terrible that ends up costing the lives of how many people. There was a time when people said, when the Georgia Guidestones were blown up, you remember what the Guidestones were? They had they called the Illuminati's commandments or whatever. One of them was maintain the population under 500 million or something. And we know that we're, approaching 8 billion or something. So we have a lot more people. But people say that it was blown up, and that's because they've solved it. They've solved it. What if it was blown up because their plans are going to fail? Peter Higgs died, Ouchie's in trouble right now. The juice is no longer loose. Died, 76 years of age. Passed away. He's done. He's done for. Now, this is a big deal because, some of the biggest names in, we'll say, influencer names, the Kardashians being one of them, intimately connected to all of this story. And it's, if you really start to peel back the layers on this story, it really is just so incredibly depressing and heartbreaking. Nicole Brown Simpson passed away. It was June 12th. That's a day after my birthday. I can tell you exactly where I was when the Bronco was chased. I was working at a place called Bennigan's. I was sick. I had to drop out of college because of my Crohn's. was like bleeding, hemorrhaging, and I had to drop out of college. And I wasn't gonna. So I got a job full time at Bennigan's. I was a waiter. Started off as a waiter, ended up as bartender. I loved working at Bennigan's. It was a great place. They had great wings. I don't eat wings anymore, but back then I ate a lot of them. But I remember standing there, getting my gear on, my flare, because we used to have the pins. Getting my flare on, getting ready to go, getting people to have some Italian samplers with their meals, so I get the extra $5 spiff. And I watched that white Bronco going, and I thought, wow, this is a big deal. And we saw what happened. He got acquitted, but what ended up happening? He ended up in jail anyway. You see the way God works? You can't laugh. Can't laugh at the Lord. This is a reminder to everybody that his lawyer was Robert Kardashian, had 4 children. Kourtney, Kim, Khloe, Rob, who appeared on this reality TV show, and they're still doing it today. Keeping up with the Kardashians. Big deal. A lot of people think, or they say, and listen, we shouldn't be, spending too much time with the rumors in the grand scheme of things, but that Khloe is actually OJ's biological daughter, because she's like 8 to 9 inches taller than her sisters, and before her surgeries, she sort of looked like, one of OJ's other children. But he was acquitted, and now he's dead. He's dead. So there you have that. I mean, I don't know if any of you were fans of the old OJ, but he's now gone. He's now gone. See, that's the thing. You think you can get away with stuff, right? And I'm not saying he got away with anything. I don't know. I don't know the ins and the outs. But what I'm saying is that everybody, we all got a ticket. And we're all heading towards that place. In Adam, we're already dead. This is the way you got to look at it. We're already dead. We need to rise again from this death. In Adam, all men die. In Christ, all men are made alive. So you want to be part of that group that doesn't taste that death, that doesn't taste that ignorance, that knows the truth of God. When the Master comes, I believe things will change. And the Masters is actually going on right now. Besides the fact that they had all their issues with the weather, the Masters is underway, 2024. It's the 88th. And do you know what letter is the 8th letter? There's a shout out to my brother Andrew, who called me up. He's like, do you know the 8th letter is H? I said, yes, I do. 88 is, a lot of people say, is like code, but this is just their 88th one. Looks a lot like the Ouroboros, the Meta logo, too. Wormwood tea does not taste good, but I'm hoping it makes me feel better. And once again, I don't think it's going to make me feel better. I'm just doing that for Lance. I hope he's laughing. The 2 of them watching the show right now. Everything has to come together just the right way to win this major. And you know somebody who really wants to win this major again? Who wants to tie to get that 6th jacket? Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods. This will be his 6th. He's 48 years old. He has a lot of physical ailments. He has more major championships than you could think of, right? This is his 26th Masters in Augusta. And he said he believes he can still win. He thinks that he can tie that 6th green jacket and make the win. He's also a little bit short with the reporters, and he's like, do I need to describe that anymore, or are we good? It's like, it's time to go. He wants to make history again. And you know what? I got to tell you something. I don't know golf. I don't really, I play golf. I mean, I don't go out on a course, play golf, but I hit the ball. I've gone out and I have golfed. I'm actually pretty good at it. I like Tiger Woods. I don't know the guy from Adam. I don't know the ins and the outs, but I do know that back in the day when, all the buzz was around him, he made it exciting. And I'm hoping he can make it exciting again. Wouldn't it be nice? It seems like, because the last time he won, when was that? That was a while ago. Let me see if I can pull this up. I have all of this somewhere. Give me 1 second. I want to pull this up so you just take a look at this. Here we go. Everybody remember this shot? This famous shot? Let me just block this. I'm not going to make it full screen, but you could check it out. This chip from 2005. This remarkable chip on the 16th. This was when he was the third person to actually win the fourth title of the Masters. I mean, what a great moment. I remember that moment. We need to see more of these moments. We need heroes again, right? We need heroes again. We need people that are just in it for the love of the game and they want to be good role models. We need to see the world change. And I believe that we're going to. I believe that the people that aren't going to do the right thing, well, they're going to have a little bit of a problem. They're going to have a little bit of a problem, and I think that we're already starting to see that. We got famous celebrities and everything else that are now being accused of horrendous things. You know, Diddy being one of them. But there's a lot of others. And there's going to be more to come. I feel that. I feel like there is going to be more to come. But I also kind of feel like, once again, what do I know? You know, what do I know? This is just my faith. You know, like I want to see good things happen. I want to see good things happen. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. And I do believe that things are going to get very, I think you'd have to be living under a rock to see the world and not say there's something awful that's coming, right? But I think that even through that, it may not affect us the way you think. I think that it's going to be more of like a diametric change to leadership in a world order than it may be something like you got to worry about going outside and breathing the air because, you know, or wearing like there's that new show right now on Prime that everybody's talking about, Fallout, right? So that's what I don't want to see. That's what I don't want to see. And the fact that I did that video 20 months, 30 days before Peter Higgs dies, and I'm talking about the Undertaker's gong, and then we have the Undertaker's gong, and I'm talking about Eid, and I'm talking about the fact that God could deliver us at that last minute. You know, that last moment, he delivers the sacrifice. I feel like that's the moment we're in. Now, I want to read you this. And actually, I really kind of want to go because I'm so tired right now. Whatever this is, I haven't been sick in years. It's kicking my butt. Revelation 18, okay? So I just want to read this to you because I feel like this is the moment that we see God start to repair the breach, you know? After these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, fallen. Now, does that mean that Babylon the Great is destroyed utterly? Yes, spiritually speaking. Does that mean that it's going to be destroyed utterly? Probably yes. But in this right here, it's just a description of how the world became. It's become the habitation of devils and the hold of every foul spirit and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. All of those are very spiritual messages for people because a bird is a messenger. A spirit is a thought, foul thoughts, a cage for every unclean, perversion. This is the way the world has. Now, all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through their abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice saying, Come out of her, my people. Don't be partakers of her and her sins, that you may not receive of her plagues. This is what I've been saying for many years. Come out of her. Do better. Because they're going to get a serious judgment. You don't want a part of that. Because she's going to be rewarded as she rewarded you. Double unto her, double according to her works in the cup which she is filled to her double. How much she has glorified herself and lived deliciously, dressing up like a nun, holding on to her boobies. I mean, that's like a perfect picture of people just saying, I don't need to live to a higher standard. I'm God. That's what they're saying. So much torment and sorrow give her. For she says in her heart, I sit as queen, and I am no widow, and I will see no sorrow. With everything that's going on in the world, let me just come back to you for a second. With everything that's going on in the world, all of the loss of life, all of the terrible things that are happening, and this is Rihanna's contribution. And people are like, oh, bold, very good, very, very bold, very artistic. This is your contribution? The world is burning. And you're sitting as queen and you're saying, I'm not going to have any problems. I'm not going to be childless. I'm going to sit as a queen. This is the problem with the people today. It is, but once again, I believe that it's going to go bye-bye. Let me read the rest of this to you. Therefore, her plagues are going to come in one day, death and mourning and famine. She's going to be burned with fire. Strong is the Lord God who judged her. And the kings of the earth who committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they see the smoke of her burning, which we actually saw in New York City. We saw the smoke of the burning that went on up there in Canada and came on down. Remember that? Back in June 6th. That's when Lilith from the game Diablo was featured prominently in Times Square. She's become a dwelling place of harlots and foul birds and every unclean thing. Terrible. But we go to the end of this. And this is the one thing that I believe is coming. Alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones. In 1 hour, your great riches will come to nothing. And every shipmaster and every company in the ships and the sailors and the trade by sea that stood far off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like this great city? And they cast down dust on their heads. This is repentance. They wept and they wailed, saying, alas, that great city, wherein we were made rich, that had ships in the sea by reason of her cost. In 1 hour, she's made desolate. Rejoice over her, you heavens, you holy apostles and prophets, for God has avenged you. That's the line I wanted to get to. God's avenged you. A mighty angel takes up a stone like a great millstone, casts it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. And the voice of harpers and musicians and pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more. No more Rihanna's playing at the Super Bowl and stuff with the future, with the way things are going to go. Correction has to come. But we can rejoice if we've done well. We can rejoice if we've done well. Why? Because that's what God's promises. The light of the candle shines no more at all. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride heard no more for thee. For your merchants were the great men of the earth, but by your sorceries, these are all the people. The people say, oh, there's no God, there's a God particle. Oh, ouchie, look at all these sorcerers, all these things, releasing mosquitoes, trying to get you to eat crickets, doing all sorts of things, casting spells, getting us to be scared and to follow after a bunch of lies and nonsense. When we should be going to God, we should be trusting in God. We should be having faith and living a moral, righteous life. The more of us that do that, believe me, it spreads. It spreads. The days we're in, people, they're exciting. Well, listen, I just wanted to share that with you. Give you a little bit of an update. I found this whole thing with Higgs to be very interesting because I did a whole show about just the fact that, one day people are going to die. You're going to die. And it's like, I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how much money you are. I don't care how many times you think you can download your consciousness or reverse aging, which is what they're supposedly doing right now. The people that are doing the wrong thing, they're going to get the wrong thing in return. They're going to get corrected. You tell me if I'm wrong. I love all of you. I hope you have the best day ever. Thank you for tuning in. Forgive me for not being 100% on my game today. But do me a favor, will you hit the like button, share the channel around. If you want to support the channel, you want to, help get me some more wormwood tape. You get yourself some of the merch that's in the description of the video. You get like the Buckle Up shirt or anything else. You can get the Uranus is a Planet mug and drink wormwood out of Uranus, which I hope helps. And say some prayers for me, and I'll say some prayers for you. I love each and every one of you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.